crashing right now. They wouldn't care, they would do this, oh, but they stole money. They're always negative. Israeli tech would come crashing down.
Do you think we're continuing to have that cutting edge?
Sorry, I'm getting a little theological and a little religious here for a second. You know, people talk about the resilience of the Jewish people, but it's beyond that. Not only do we survive when we were persecuted, we thrive when we're persecuted. Let me give you an example, right? In the actual Torah, to be clear, not in the commentary on the Torah, but the actual Torah, there's a really strange verse when the Israelites are enslaved in Egypt. The Torah says the more the Egyptians persecuted the Israelites, the more they reproduced and thrived, and, like, flourished. That doesn't make any sense. You'd think, like, we're being persecuted, we wouldn't thrive, right? So when we're persecuted, we don't just survive, we thrive. And so today you see that better than ever before because our enemies terrorize and we innovate. And despite this insane war, this existential war that we're fighting, you would think that Israeli tech would come crashing down.
When you say Israeli tech, what do you mean? As the ecosystem, or you mean?
Yeah, I mean, Israeli companies. You know, like if you're an investor, you're looking for stability. You're not looking to invest in like volatile regions, and there's nothing more volatile in the Middle East right now. So like you would think investments would be down, M&A would be down. Like why are companies looking to acquire Israeli companies now? Like Israeli companies are supposed to be crashing right now. Well, Vintage Partners, Alan Feld, famous investor who's a legend. I don't know if you know his story, but he's an LP in Andreessen Horowitz, like crazy. Anyway, so they released a report a couple of weeks ago that Israel broke all records ever in M&A this year. $10.5 billion of M&A, and that is, I'm looking at the thing, 22% higher than the previous peak, which is 2021. $10.5 billion in M&A in Israel this year. Again, how does that make any sense?
This year, last year, 2024.
2024. The whole country's in reserves. Like, we're fighting this war. Like, you would think we would not see any success from the Israeli ecosystem. But again, as always, they terrorize, we innovate. That's our story. That should be our catchphrase.
What happened is better than eating, right? Better than, what is it? They try to kill us.
We survived, we eat.
We survived, we eat.
It's a crazy thing that you see this Israeli thing. You see us continuing to grow, and it's wild. So, yeah, I think we're completely on the cutting edge. And I think it's what's fascinating is that traditionally, historically, Israel was very good at certain verticals, right? You had obviously cyber, right? We were amazing semiconductors. Like we had our comfort zones, right? But there were always like weak verticals. Consumer tech, like we're a tiny country, 10 million people. How do you build a consumer company at 10 million people, right? So we were always very weak at that, and like there were a couple of verticals we were very weak at. Today, it's pretty accurate to say that Israel dominates across all verticals. Like there's not a single vertical that Israel is not a significant player in. Meaning we may not be number one. But take consumer as an example. Again, we sucked at consumer for years. You know how many amazing consumer companies there are in Israel right now? Fiverr and Wix and Lightrix. And I mean, the list is very, very, very long. Hardware, device, medical devices, software, mobile. Like there's endless consumer companies. So it's across the board now. Israel's just dominating and ripping everyone up. It's amazing to watch.
Do you think going forward, what industry do you think will make headways in? Like, we're global leaders in cybersecurity, yeah, but when it comes to actually leading the world, where do you think what new industries or verticals do you think we're going to lead?
I mean, the world is obviously going towards generative AI, and I must have met at least 15 companies in the last 3 months that are doing insane things in generative AI. You know a guy named Shai Magzimov? You ever hear that name?
No, it's a cool last name.
Yeah, so Shai Magzimov is a serial entrepreneur, and he had a company called Phantom Auto. It's based in Palo Alto. I went to his garage, literally so cliche. It's a garage in Palo Alto. And what he does is he has like a gaming console there, like literally a gaming chair and like whatever. And he remotely controls cars from that gaming console. Amazing. I drove around Palo Alto with him controlling the car from his garage. Wild stuff.
So he drove you, basically, yeah. But he was there.
What's the concept? The concept is when we go fully autonomous, if someone hacks your car,
right.
So this basically overrides that, right? Crazy company. Anyway, they raised a lot of money.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now he started.
That's my biggest fear. Whenever I see people with a Chinese car, I'm like, you have no idea what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. But so Shai Magzimov has a new startup now that he's basically adding, I guess you call it like a social element to generative AI. So like I'll have a conversation with ChatGPT and I'll be able to add you in and we'll be able to like for teams and collaboration and things like that. Anyway, there's so many companies in Israel doing things.
So like there are two microphones here, one to our left, one to our right. So we can have basically a bot sitting here and joining in our conversation.
Something like that.
How long until we do that?
And it's obviously not
not physical,
but yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of cool stuff happening in the generative AI space in Israel, a ton. So it's amazing.
Is there verticals within the generative AI that we're stronger in? Because I mean, it's a tool that is implemented by any ecosystem, by any industry, right? So like we can be a world leader in cybersecurity, but if we're not properly adapting Gen AI into cybersecurity, then you'll lose that crown in 3 years.
Right. No, I think right now Gen AI is like the buzzword, and yeah, it's being implemented across the board. But listen, there are those that will say that we're actually falling behind when it comes to Gen AI. Like Israel's not.
What's the argument that we're falling behind?
Just that we have companies like OpenAI and all the Grok and X and all these things that are just like building unbelievable products. We haven't built an LLM. There's no Israeli like language model. I don't know.
But there are only a couple anyway. There's only going to be probably room for 3 or 4. What about Ilya's startup in Jerusalem? I mean, is it possible?
Who? What?
Ilya Sklitsky.
Oh, from OpenAI.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What about him?
Well, he's from Yerushalayim. He's from Jerusalem originally.
You're thinking about his co-founder.
What's his name?
Daniel Gross is his co-founder. Daniel Gross. He's from Jerusalem though. He grew up in Jerusalem. Your viewers are going to think I'm some kind of rabbi because I keep going there, but in Judaism, we're like, those who bless the Jewish people, those who have our back will succeed. Like that's a promise in the Torah.
Right.
Dude, every company that has Israel's back is doing well. Like again, Nvidia is one of them, but Microsoft and Google and Apple and Palantir. Like Palantir's like probably maybe the coolest company in tech. Palantir's like this.
Why don't you tell people do? Because most people don't, even within defense tech or that follow, don't know what Palantir do.
I don't know what Palantir does.
So that's the whole thing, right?
I don't think you're supposed to know what Palantir does. I mean, it's security stuff, but I think they're super duper secretive. I don't really know. I don't think anybody really knows except for obviously the employees. But they have offices here. Like almost I can think of any company really that has doubled down on Israel in terms of like their support. That's not doing well. Very very few, if so. Like. Everybody that has our back is kind of doing well.
But I don't think I think people see meritocracy and opportunity in business, and then like you were saying, they see it here. Right. And I think it's funny because there were 2 schools, right? There are ones that were involved before October 7th, and those that weren't. And those that weren't already that have been here, let's say a year at least before that, they see sorry for the overused term resilience, but they see it's so overused. It's a good word. It's a good word. It's a very relevant word. They see the resilience. They see I'm in Miluim in reserves, and I'm with my family, and I'm working, and I'm doing all this stuff. And I think that's kind of what people see, and people like, Israel's going to make it work, pull it through, and probably grow from it.
I get a message from Hillel. We're running this campaign, right, that every reserve soldier that was in for more than 100 days, for every day they're in, 100 points, Hillel points, right? So there were people there that were like, 300 days. They got like a crap ton of points, right? But obviously they limited it to like X, I don't remember what the number was, 25,000, whatever the number was, I don't remember.
Right.
And so they wanted to collaborate with me. So like I promoted, I would never collaborate with a company that's not doing something that I don't agree with, that I'm not aligned with, right? This is beautiful. Like it's helping the reserve. Like it's a beautiful thing, right? Dude, when I posted it, of course there were people that, it's so beautiful. There's always that person who's like, oh, it's a marketing thing. Oh, if they really cared, they would do this. Oh, but they stole money. I can't deal with people like that. Like dude, there's something beautiful here. Could you stop like finding the negative? Those people on the internet, they're always negative.
Well, they always are, yeah. But I think I think everyone gets a little like that. They're saying like they were talking about things, but of course people often highlight problems more than
crazy.
Positivity. Well, that's the nature, unfortunately, of platforms. I know Facebook did a test, and they said the angrier the post, the more engagement it got.
Makes sense.
And so I just blame human nature and technology and algorithms. Algorithms just trying to feed human nature what
of course.
Human nature thinks it wants to see more.
Nuances and sexy.
So bringing back to the Israeli tech ecosystem here, NVIDIA, right? We can talk about chips in Israel and in general. Intel's been lost a lot of ground, and it's probably, I think it's Israel's like biggest private employer, right? Or at least it was.
I heard that, yeah.
And NVIDIA's like obviously the leading company in the world and is extremely involved
because of AI. You know that.
Yeah. So where did Intel go wrong? Did you not keep up with AI?
Oh, that's a good question. So
is it more than that? Is that it? They just weren't able to lead with.
I'll be a good Jew and answer your question with a question.
Oh, great. Okay, then let's.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, actually. Right. So I'll give you 2 examples. Okay, and this is an answer to your question, but it's actually much broader, and it's all about marketing, and you're gonna like this. So how old are you?
39.
Okay. Did you have a BlackBerry?
No.
Okay. So if you go into a cafe and you ask the entire cafe, did you have a BlackBerry? Whoever says yes, whatever the percentage is, ask them, did you like your BlackBerry? 100% of the people will say yes.
Oh, totally. Because they were the coolest person in the room when they had the BlackBerry.
Guaranteed. Like it was a revolution at the time. Yeah. Everyone loved their BlackBerry. Like, period. You will not find a BlackBerry user that didn't like their BlackBerry. Everyone loved it, including I loved my BlackBerry. Where is it? They had a great product. They had objectively a great product, right? but they didn't evolve. Their marketing sucked. Their branding sucked. Right? That's one. I'll give you one more example, then I'll come back to Intel.
You think Nokia is the same thing, right?
An even better example. Are you a watch guy?
No.
Okay. Do you know anything about watches?
No.
Okay. What's the best watch brand in the world? The fancy.
Allegedly, Rolex is the most popular name.
Right. If you go over to a cafe and you say to people, what's the best watch brand? Probably 99% of them will say Rolex, right?
But there's a better watch.
If you follow up that question with what do you know about Rolex? Zero.
Right.
Right? It's pure branding, right? So Rolex, like, people don't, everyone thinks Rolex is first of all, it's not, but that aside, like, it's just from branding. And that's when you don't even know anything about the product. But even when you have a good product, right? Again, BlackBerry had a great product, but they sucked at marketing, right? So back to Intel, I don't know Intel's business at depth right now, like they've obviously pivoted. They're not old school Intel. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's some, computers still have Intel inside. It's not like they're, gone. But my impression, and again, I could be completely wrong about this, my impression is that NVIDIA is the new Intel.